Welcome to Tidbit Talkin. This is a series that consists of spewing out assorted thoughts which arose from somebody who thinks too much, taking in, and generally loving various entertainment media by the boatload. These tidbits may be little theories, observations, or simply jokes. Please bear in mind that all these ideas come from the perspective of somebody who's experienced every main story bit connected with whatever is currently being gone over. So spoilers will be here. However, other works set in a shared continuity will typically solely be referenced in a way that only makes sense to anybody who's also fully experienced those ones up until their same time occurring points. Sort of a coded nod kind of deal. Now, with all of that out of the way, here we go. Geek taking about 80 years to commence his strike boils down to at least these two things. 1. He is of course working up the courage to attack his adopted mother's descendants. 2. Dude simply didn't know where said newer family members were until Nintendo's powers grew strong enough for him to notice. Anyway, just attacking everywhere in an all-out assault and obliterating the entire planet in a single psychic slash or something wouldn't be an option because Captain Comprehension Cramping couldn't risk military retaliation when he wasn't fully aware what humanity's apparently feeble tech was capable of. The species is really good at hiding such stuff after all, even from its own people. Thus somewhat slow, still severe, stealth, sabotage, staggered sufficiently seemed like the way to go. Especially when every crazy little thing he did, like launching lethal lamps and raising a small town's worth of dead folks, could easily be disguised as tabloid father rather than news. These Nin sisters' huge orange juice stockpile is the result of them using their storage business enabling bartering skills to score huge extra snack loads at school lunch trade deals. Perished podunk people got turned into zombies because, at one point, Geek was seriously considering finding a way to revive Maria. Thinking about this tragic temptation while being tasked with what must be done now, dutiful feelings clashing with sorrowful and nostalgic ones, and eventually the anger towards George's actions being an unfortunate tiebreaker is what resulted in such a chaotic situation for the small town compared to everywhere else's relatively controlled trouble. That is, instead of simply surrounding stuff with enemies or kidnapping people for experiments or whatever, because mission-focused self-hearts were mentally, emotionally in charge, bring beloved babysitter back that got mixed into dad-do-death dedicated desires, and junk that involved lots of used-to-be deceased being killing families ensued. This pet store guy is willing to give Nintendo that canary for free because he's worried there's something wrong with the precious little thing since it didn't escape with every other animal. Speaking of which, that whole literal no-go situation probably arose because being part of a human society mimicking village of yellow birds made it feel pretty chill with hanging out here until Mama came back for picking up action or whatever was being expected. Psionics, sometimes showing up later instead of right alongside an official strength growth event, must have something to do with each technique's eureka moment, requiring both a certain raw power level for utilization and particular circumstances that cause inspiration, which makes one realize what all else their super brain can now do. Like, for example, some people got strong enough to expel any kind of poison while fighting a perfectly unvenomous crazy hippie, but they couldn't actually realize how such whatnot gets pulled off until reminder-shaped whatchamacallits like snakes or whatever actually arrived on the scene. Goofy ghost goons looking like they are from Pac-Man could very well be because Geek psychic powers actually rip them straight out of said game. Hippie's preposterous punching power probably has something to do with being blessed by the strictly physical mutation equivalent of having psi abilities. Maria's fondness of Laura the Canary is most likely what caused that magicant manifestation of those courage personifying flying men. An ancestor getting struck by lightning while wearing that Franklin badge maybe mutated this family line in a young glasses will all eventually develop super strength sort of way. Somewhat related, it could very well be that the reason a certain accessory only deflects PK beam delta instead of electrical emissions this time around is because Geek's current breakdown-filled mental state is altering this world's physical laws, kinda. The singing monkey going a bit less crazy than those other animals and stealing that office key is because said sweet sound-savvy simian's greater intelligence, along with its ability to process noises differently on account of being all musically inclined, resulted in hypnotic hoopla hampering happening. That giddy gossip giving out info on psychic kids for helping out the mayor must have gathered said knowledge based on rumors about Nintendo himself. It of course makes sense to look into mighty mind masters if one is purportedly here, especially to make sure whether or not these folks are prone to election ruining. Kinda connected, each and every bridge is most likely totally open right after those zombies permanently return to dusty Earth places. Those quirky cops simply really wanted the locally known pleasant source of bizarre whatnot to check out all things weird pink spike related for them. The Magicant inhabitants wearing wizard robes and whatever is probably the result of an amnesic Maria misinterpreting psychic visions she once had of her hat and striped shirt clothed descendant having spectacular powers. Flying men are quite apt at attacking with smashing strength because being the personification of courage makes one rather willing to risk self-damage by overexerting if it means protecting somebody else. All these odd forms possessed by hostile creatures here are caused by great-grandma's flashbacks of dying to an attack she can't grasp the true form of. The room with 6 boxes in Queen Mary's castle that stops giving out junk after only one doohickey is open may be a representation of memories about teaching children how to shop with self-restraint. Sort of a deal where after doing all the required chores, a kid could pick out one toy to be bought or something. Nurses and other sources of only HP healing are because very few folks understand psionics enough to fully treat people who can use it. Not even fantasy fountains work since they were formed by the mind of somebody surrounded by such amazing phenomenon knowledge lacking people. This butter knife in the factory must have been left behind by a person hastily heading back from lunch break. Present package proliferation, probably product of kids using mental ability to subconsciously maneuver useful items towards their journey's path in an appealing storage form. This mysterious teacher must have used his time machine to give himself an opportunity to fix the room up instantaneously. Dr. Distorto could have very well ruined everything in this factory due to nightmares that got blasted into his brain by alien invaders. Horrifying visions of starmen and whatnot would have inspired the creation of these scrappers and old robots. Also, the dude getting fought multiple times, along with probably every other regular human enemy, must be because that going back to normal business simply doesn't last very long, while world enemy originating telepathic strikes are still going on. That deal where one misses instead of simply smashing something else nearby after a good foe thwarting is because these crazy kids are all riddled with accuracy hampering problems, such as asthma, a general lack of athleticism, never discarding bulky winter gear for whatever reason, and being too full of parent vengeance concerning rage to focus. Lloyd must have been performing the calculations needed for successfully launching those big rockets at Boulder barricades while Ninten was going to and through Sweet's little factory. Anna left her hat at the train station on purpose because she needed to make sure first Captain Striped Shirt would seek out help ASAP. The gifted girl probably figured his good nature would make him want to check out each nearby town for folks in need, but not having any specific reason to visit Snowman before everywhere else might result in reaching her taking too long and missing Mom's dying or whatever. This town's Halloween horror hubbub must have been caused by Geek realizing how well accidentally making such terror show up earlier worked out and going, sure, why not? Granted, he got defeated earlier, but he still killed a lot of humans in the process. Anyway, reviving the dead could result in animated dust clumps because such stuff is actually mostly composed of discarded human skin cells. Mr. My Might Makes No Sense seemingly stocked the more advanced, purposefully manufactured zombies with brain shock powers so they could tenderize their desired meals before consumption. This gal and reindeer, knowing about a certain Toon-privy subconscious-located dragon, might have something to do with it being one deal Maria regularly had nightmares about before becoming queen of a psychically created mystical realm. Specifically, one of her recurring nocturnal terrors about the thing must have involved it hurting other people, hence how it can seemingly show up in others' more normal mental domains. Dr. Dude denture dropping near this sign may be related to an accident that occurred close by in the places he goes to create his miracle mouthwash. Speaking of which, this home's hugeness is because he needs many rooms for storing his nigh limitless supply. The flying men also kind of resemble this old pilot. Perhaps a fond memory Maria had involved seeing Canary Village on a plane ride his father or grand took George and her on, resulting in an amalgamation image for the aforementioned Brave Bird boys. Anyway, once Geek started attacking everything, all the melodies may have been reflexively metaphysically stored in locations, said Super Chic Saber during a husband-involving cross-country road trip. Mysterious music must have all went places glimpsed when Maria's life flashed before her eyes right before death, instead of directly to descendants' minds, because that dear memory-composed thought chain was simply the last thing she focused on before becoming amnesic and deceased. The kids know how to control this tank because Lloyd is himself. He subsequently shared this knowledge with Anna and Ninten willingly by letting them scan his brain deeply with telepathy. War cars can't cross out of the rough course sand area because this mentally mighty doesn't want to crush the animals who aren't desert-dwelling dicks. Most monkeys lie because they train themselves to resist an interrogation from that death robot guarding this not hazy cave-situated maze place. Wouldn't want to risk loose lips letting slip the location of precious banana horns or whatever. The Garrickson baby learning how to teleport before walking/talking is because his/her brain panicked when all those adults went missing, and Desperation Development decided such a power would be best for bringing everybody back once they were located. Pippi must have shoved Lloyd's dad in the trash can after she got annoyed by an experiment he was performing. The BB gang members know about HP because Teddy's training for avenging his parents involved precise strength tracking related what have you. The unpleasant super lizard of horrible sleepy time would be a cherished memory with enclosed tunage because Maria had fond recollection of husband originating cheering up after every waking. George may have dedicated much of his later life to developing weapons that would help his family fight Yi. All deals that would possibly be utilized got predicted by a supercomputer or something. That earlier mentioned malarkey pertaining to goods gathered in fancy boxes would have drawn everything current companions could handle away from the lab. Lloyd's weapon was supposed to be E, as although she was dedicated to guarding Nintendo, his awesome nerd friend would be the one regularly doing maintenance on her and what have you. Teddy was calling his gang to make sure they weren't arrested or anything since he started his most recent mountain climbing attempt. Super Science Soldier's cannon missing involved breaking apart the cliff everybody was fighting on. The robot died from falling. Among heroic humans, only Beefy Boy was injured, because while the guy is significantly strong, he didn't have psionic healing abilities that would have kicked in out of reflex to help hasten recovery jumps. Sir Suave Shade's epiphany that brute force can't win might have something to do with suddenly realizing that angering those who kidnapped everyone's parents in a not negotiation having sort of way could very easily result in somebody else losing mom and dad just like he did. The whirlpool creating device must have been keeping enemies away before it detected those guardian kids and sucked them in. Hence how the glass didn't crack completely till Nintendo showed up and retrieved E. Also, the Cyber She storing songs most likely involved Maria fondly remembering how her husband loved tinkering with every little thing. George's grave is a cherished object even though she wasn't around for his passing away, because of that whole till death do us part thing in most marriage vows. The psionics and mold magicants must make it so another universe is temporarily physically created within a person's mind-holding organ, at a size that is dwarfed by nearby neurons and other brain-building bumps. Once objects like weapons and armor are taken out, things realign with regular physics and everything becomes a normal universe proportionate deal. On a related note, the inexplicable attacks that one cannot typically truly grasp the form of may be a violent version of said supreme psychic stuff's most upgraded form. Let's say it's a deal that entirely reshapes the existing atoms that surround somebody sufficiently strong in mind places. It would take much training and focus for those capable of making new worlds to get their mentalities all concentrated on destruction instead of healing and supporting others. Thus Geek flees after his Maria nostalgia kicks in, as he can no longer pervert sci-fi creation abilities into apocalypse-causing ones. These fond feelings also make him regain healing powers similar to his adoptive mother and her close-by grandson, because the mindset he possessed while being raised by said woman was quite similar to this kid's. The saddened stranger uses them right away while running, because he knows his parent would want him to help out siblings and friends, if possible, no matter what. Knowledge of how those particular powers work must be what George stole, hence him knowing to guide these children and protect the melodies which could restore Earth's mightiest visitors' original gentle nature. The something new that has come up must be an event meant to distract Nintendo from returning and singing once again, opening another opportunity for invasion. He relies on these diversions that may involve stuff planted beforehand, which might even be subconsciously controlled because he can't ever bring himself to strike down Maria's grandchild directly, especially after rehearing that lullaby. He doesn't mind old age possibly doing the dude in though, thus a plan's put into action that keeps said fellow occupied for literally an entire lifetime. Endings are a pain, but all of you are fantastic. See ya.